morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame, and we have kind of a narrow range heading into the RTH Open. 28% of average range right now, which is 20.25 points of range. This is to be expected here with fairly quiet economic calendar data points on Monday and Tuesday of this week. Today we have Fed speakers, Fed Waller at 9 a.m., Fed member Kashkari at 1 o'clock, and then later on this afternoon after the market closes, FOMC member Harker speaks. But really, the market awaiting CPI data. Inflation data this week, Wednesday, core CPI and CPI data on Wednesday, PPI data on Thursday, and we also have Fed Chair Powell speaking Thursday afternoon. So that's kind of a wait and see pattern here that's developing. The early idea heading into today's session was to watch the previous day's range, watch the previous high and low, and fade the edges with an upward bias. We've already seen price drop into the previous session's low here in the ES during the 4 o'clock hour, and that led to a little bit of a fade back up. We could continue to see a little back and forth action here as the market maintains these highs. Looking at the NQ, very similar price action here. Range-bound price action. You have kind of a intraday development here, almost a little intraday diamond pattern here over the last 3 days. But again, the early idea would be to test the previous session's low, fade it back up. There was one opportunity for that yesterday afternoon with price dropping below the previous session's low and fading back to the previous close. That could still be in play today. If we get an edge test at one of yesterday's edges here, that could provide a fade back up with a nice little target here at the previous session's close, or perhaps even the previous week's close. So continue to look to fade the edges with an upward bias until proven otherwise. Looking at crude oil, heavy selling pressure the previous couple of days. Today a little bit of a bounce back day, up 0.8% right now. Little fade after trend day, thrust reversal style pattern here developing. This market remains weak overall. It has been in a bearish seasonal pattern here, which extends into the middle of December. We do have some strong support down below. The key range low here, right around 66.30. You have the previous year's low, right around 63.70 and change, somewhere in that zone. But for the most part, that's about as low as this thing likely goes. If we continue to see some weakness here and hit this area of support between 63.50 and 64, it could provide a bounce back up toward 72 up ahead. Right now, still trending down in the near term. Any pullback could be seen as a selling opportunity. Keep an eye on 69s today. If price can push through 69, there might be a little bit more upside, but any pullback may still be seen as a selling opportunity in the near term. Looking at gold, gold had a tremendous continuation to the downside in the previous session. Big time drop, right along the lines of what we were looking for here on a break last Wednesday, and a return to 2710 to be defended for a continuation into 2600, and that blue dash line right there, that's your FOMC key level from September 18th, and that is 25.9440. Today we got to a low of 25.9570, so just off of those lows by about 13 ticks, and that's a zone now where we could begin to see a little bit of a bounce develop. We're inside that buy zone between the previous month's low and the 25% extension on the PivotBoss pivots. That could provide a little modest bounce here, but we're still in a very bearish downtrend overall. So that would be a counter trend move right now. Need to see a really strong low to develop in order to kind of bounce it back up. If there is a decent bounce, maybe back to 2680 could be in play. Maybe even a retest of the FOMC key level from last Thursday. That's 27.0320. But again, given the downtrend here, any bounce could still be seen as a selling opportunity until we find a strong low in gold. Looking at the YM here continues to show a little bit more outperformance against the ES and the NQ to the upside. Yesterday, a strong rally right at the RTH Open. Right now, seeing strength as well. Ahead of the RTH Open, still trending up overall, but also maintaining a narrow intraday range here. This is 187 points of range, which is 34% of average range. So still fairly narrow, but trending up overall. This market again continues to be very bullish here with a break through recent highs at 43,500. Any pullback could still continue to extend this thing to the upside, even if we are at a near-term high, a short-term swing high within this channeling price action. Any pullback still provides a continuation to the upside until proven otherwise. Looking at Bitcoin here, wow, that happened fast. A big-time rally. Hit a high, overnight high today at 90,725. And this is something we talked about over the last couple of months, and even this month heading into November, that we want to see price pull back to about that 66,000 level, 67,000, and then look for a check mark continuation up with targets at 80,000 and 92,285. And it's done it much faster than you would have anticipated. But we knew that Q4 could be very, very bullish for Bitcoin, very bullish for crypto in general, and especially bullish for Ethereum. This market right here with a massive move to the upside over the course of the month so far, starting with the early pullback and then the check mark continuation. Big time move almost to the 92,285s. Right now, if this is a decent intraday strong high developing for Bitcoin, then we could be looking at the development of a new key range. So you have the low here from earlier this month. You have the current high developing now. Perhaps there's a midpoint that it comes back and fills the mid of that key range. And if that plays out there, it's going to give us another new upside target to work off of. And right now, that high and low coincide with the current month's high and low, which we can see forecasted on the PivotBoss pivots for the next month in December, and that can give us a target up above. And look where that target takes us. That's your 25% extension, 50, 75. It will be 11,400, or rather 114,000. 114,310 would be that target. So if we did fill that midpoint, and the midpoint comes in at 78,933, so we would need to see a pullback to that level right there, 78,933. If we did pull back into that zone, you get ourselves a new key range with an upward target locked in at 114,000 for Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum, Ethereum down as well after putting in a strong high. This is again, wow, how fast did this one rally? We mentioned all along, last week especially, as this thing was hanging around 2,500, that this one was going to play catch up. This one was going to play catch up in a big way. It was going to see a huge move to the upside. As soon as it got through 2,800, it was going to be off to the races to 3,400, and it got there in 3 days. That is significant because it stayed within a 600-point range for 3 months, and then it goes 600 points through the next distribution in 3 days. That is incredible, but that's along the lines of the type of expansive move that we were looking for. But not only that, that's just the first move. The next move takes us to 4,000, as I've mentioned, which is the next 600-point distribution up, and the last one takes us to 4,600. So this market could be looking at much more upside ahead. Now, like Bitcoin here, if this market is putting in a decent high here, a strong key range high, for example, from last week's low, then we need to pull back to about 29.30. That's going to be that level right there. Let's see, the exact level is 29.2680. If this thing pulls back to 29.2680 here and gets ourselves a new key range, then we have ourselves new targets to look for to the upside as well. And look where this upside target takes us. If we come up here, that target takes us right to 4,600. 45.97 right there. 45.97 would be the 100% target if this turns into a key range. Still got to get a pullback, but if it turns into a key range, we have ourselves 4,600 as the next upside target. That's our next market structure level, and it's a long-term naked FOMC key level at 45.83 half. So a lot is pointing to 4,600 up here as a long-term target for Ethereum. So this is starting to heat up in a big way with more upside likely ahead. We'll see if we get ourselves a key range to solidify that upside target. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.